Manchester City look to turn around a 3-0 deficit in Leg 2 of the Champions League round of 16 when they take on Rayan Madrid. Today, that game is set to kick off at 4 p.m. Coverage starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch all the action on Paramount Plus. Now, this is a clash between City's Erling Haaland and Real Madrid's Antonio Rudiger, which Rudiger was asked about yesterday. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, I faced Haaland now many times, and I repeat myself many times again. And he's a world-class striker already, and he's a young man. He's very strong, and yeah. But as I said before, I like this type of duels and everything. And what have it done something with my career? Yeah, because probably in my first season here, because everyone. I think no centre-back could have really beaten him. And yes, I was one of the first one who showed him a bit that, yes, I can keep up with him. So, but in terms of that, yeah, I just find it fantastic to play against him because he seems like a good guy and he's a better footballer even. So, that's about it.
I like that, him saying I was one of the first ones that showed that I can keep up with Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I think Rudiger can keep up with anybody. He's that good. He's a little bit. I was going to say a little bit. He's a lot of bit crazy, and I think you need a lot of bit crazy when you have a center back that's going to help you win Champions League. So you find it often that these types of defenders can keep Haaland quiet. In fact. The thing is that Haaland goes quiet for long periods of the game. You just got to make sure that you rough him up enough that when he gets that one opportunity, he'll either miss, because one chance, it feels like Haaland is going to get. And then once he gets that one chance,
you're dead.
Forget with momentum on his side.
It's about how you play your strikers. There's a school of thought. So if somebody's particularly physical, and Haaland is physical, but he's not overtly aggressive, is he, towards his opponent, sort of personally.
And Rudiger wants to be physical.
Yeah, and there's a school of thought of don't poke the bear. They used to say, playing against the likes of Duncan Ferguson, managers used to say to their centre-halves, chat to him, ask him how the family is, how's the pigeon keeping going. Do not get him annoyed, because then they play angry, and it gives them another gear. I also think that Rudiger is the type of player who absolutely relishes a physical battle with a big guy. What he's like against smaller, nippier strikers, quick feet, I think he would struggle more against them. He's physically built to cope with Haaland.
Yeah, he's going to look for the contact.
Yeah,
Rudiger's going to go provoke the contact, right, with Haaland. He wants the matchup. He wants to get down and dirty. He wants that physical bump all the time, and I think Haaland not only will ask how the family is, he'll ask how the grandparents are, where his great-grandparents came from. He'll do all the dirty work necessary.
Yeah, when I watch him, I can't think of any other defender in world football since Erling Haaland has really come into his own that has pocketed Erling Haaland this much, right? When you watch this battle, this 1v1 battle, and you go back to who had the last laugh, the last time these two sides, and I'm not thinking last season, where both these two sides, Real Madrid won the Champions League, right? It was Antonio Rudiger who had the last laugh at the Etihad, scoring the game-winning penalty. And I just see this arrogance about Rudiger, but when it comes to Erling Haaland, the struggles have been compounded significantly. Antonio Rudiger has turned Erling Haaland into just complete spectator when it comes to Real Madrid versus Man City.
One goal in the 6 games where Antonio Rudiger has been there.
It's a great matchup, isn't it? When you watch a game of football, obviously it's two teams competing against each other, but when you look at the individual battles on the pitch, again, coaches say all the time, win your battle, win your battle. That is a really good one to watch tonight.
Do you guys know how many touches Haaland had last week against Real Madrid? 10.
Oh, I was going to say less. But that's typical Haaland.
No, it's 10. 2 of them being kicking the ball off. Maybe even 3.
Okay, but
4.
It's the typical broadcaster's line when you're watching a City game and Haaland isn't involved, where you say Haaland has had 4 touches in the game, and then his next touch is a goal that just changes the complexion of the game. I do understand. I think it speaks to the way that City play and how they get Haaland involved, but I feel like it's an easy way to kind of cast Haaland in a bad light. Go watch the games that he scores. I don't know how many more touches he's getting in those games.
It's, confirmation bias, isn't it?
Yeah.
As Mark Twain said, lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Man, you're full of everything. You can run, you can sing, you can do karaoke.
I can't sing.
Okay.
Karaoke. Well, listen, it's not an impossible task for Manchester City to be able to turn around this 3-0 deficit. And when you take a look at the largest deficits, first leg deficits that we have seen in Champions League, we go to Barcelona, who has done it before in the 2016-17 season. They were down 4-0 in the first leg to PSG and won 6-5 on aggregate. The following season, it was Roma who got the best of Barca after being down 4-1. They came back to finish 4-4 on aggregate the next year. Liverpool also got the best of Barca. They were down 3-0, Liverpool were, and ended 4-3 on aggregate. You can also throw it back all the way to 2003-2004 when Club Deportivo was down 4-1 to Milan and won 5-4 on aggregate. So not an impossible task, and I think you, Lahoud, have some keys for Manchester City in this one.
Yeah, look, there's always three of them, right, when we do these things. And for Manchester City, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Number one for me is Erling Haaland. And it's got to be an Erling Haaland wake-up call. And I hope Erling Haaland, that day off that Manchester City have gotten sometimes as a player, having a day off, having some time away from football can be the thing that just recenters you. And I hope he's drinking all the raw milk in the world because, man, this guy looks an absolute shadow of himself. I don't recognize the guy, right? And I know that people have talked about maybe it's time to drop Erling Haaland. I think that's absolute nonsense.
Oh, who said that?
Some people at the Golazo Network. Look at some of the tapes. Maybe it's time to drop Erling Haaland. It's absolute nonsense, right? Because this is Erling Haaland we're talking about. But if I'm Pep Guardiola, I don't know if it's having a word with him. I don't know if it's giving him a kick up the backside. When you look at the difference of Haaland at the start of 2026, yes, he scored a couple goals, right? February was a decent month for him, maybe being more assist provider than it was goal scorer. But when I watched the match against West Ham, and I know you watched the match, I know you watched the match, he looks like a player devoid of confidence right now. He also looks like a player that you have to tee him up and put the right pieces around him, which leads me to point number two, to get the best out of Erling Haaland. For the love of God, Pep, do not leave Rayan Cherki on the bench, right? It's 2 matches in a row. All of us were looking at the lineup going into the first leg and saying, what has Pep done? Yes, you bring in Omar Mamouche. You reward him for the performance against Newcastle. But for me, Rayan Cherki is City's most reliable player in the final third and has been throughout this season after Erling Haaland. He brings that sense of creativity, that sense of magic that you need on a magical night, when you need a miracle, when you need, as you said, the luck of the Irish to come through. Rayan Cherki is the main man for City. And no, Phil Foden is not the answer. Rayan Cherki has to be on the field. And if I'm going to do or say anything about Manchester City, I'd love to see him and Jeremy Doku playing underneath Erling Haaland as the 2 10s. Last but not least, Manchester City's kryptonite this season hasn't been starting games. It's been losing games and losing control over football matches. There was before the last 3 matches, Jeff, there was this sense that City were starting to get back that control that we see, right? Mark Gahey looked like a prominent signing, looked like he could be the difference maker for Manchester City. A Manchester City side that can't put a complete 90 minutes is a City side that not only has no chance in hell against Real Madrid, I don't think they have any chance in hell of winning any trophies if they can't do that. So, am I crazy? Are those 3 keys, or do we need more for City?
You might be a little bit crazy because in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, they could definitely win that. Definitely, they could win that.
Yeah, who's your betting favorite, though? If you had $100 and you had to pick one team, like...
I haven't looked at the betting for that, but I think it'd be close. I don't think you'll find either is the short price favourite.
It's just there's something about City where there's a lot of weaknesses, and I think, again, talking about confirmation bias, I don't know if I'd be saying this if they hadn't lost 3-0 in the first leg of Real against Madrid. I chose City to get through in my bracket.
Yeah, but Nico, don't forget, they were on top first 20 minutes. They were the better team.
Without a doubt.
And Courtois made that fabulous save.
Without a doubt. But do they have the intangibles? It feels like they were derailed so much
Nico,
last season under Pep, something that had never happened before, that mentally it just feels like if you push them, you can shove them to the ground. Manchester City in a matchup like this, which is a little bit shocking.
Yeah, they lack of resilience. I think that's what you're talking about.
I think they lack one thing more than anything else. There's goals. They're missing goals. Yeah. And it's not just Erling Haaland. They are missing goals.
A Kevin De Bruyne-esque player, for example?
That would help. Are we also, though, falling into our regular trap, like we have done in the Premier League? When will Manchester City do what Manchester City does? They have a lull. They have these periods where the results aren't as solid as they have been. They've been extraordinarily solid in nearly 10 years under Pep.
But right now, we're getting to a point of the project where it seems weathered.
Yep.
It doesn't look like they can go back to that pristine condition that Pep had them for so many years.
Massive month for Manchester City and Pep. You think Real Madrid, Carabao Cup final, then there's the break, and then the last couple of games and the game against Arsenal. Huge month for them.
And on the flip side, that's why for Real Madrid, I think them beating Manchester City and going through to the next round doesn't say much, just like it didn't say that much last season. I think we got carried away, and Real Madrid will probably go through to the next round. Good on them to kind of find a little bit of their form. But their next test is up against Bayern. Yeah. And last year, their real test was against Arsenal.
How impressed have you been, though, when you talk about Real Madrid? How impressed have you been with how Arbeloa has managed bringing some of the kids in?
Sure, okay, right? with a couple of games, but because he's been obligated to, really.
I don't know if he's been obligated to, because hang on, he came through La Fabrica himself. He managed those teams, so he knows those players.
Credit to him.
So he trusts.
Credit to him.
He knows those youth team players better than he knows the first team players. So it's understandable why he's done this. And also, if you look at Real Madrid, the size of the club, you can't say that they've got a fantastic record of bringing players through the academy, can you?
They don't. And credit to Arbeloa, who understands and knows these kids and manage them. The biggest one, obviously, is Thiago Pitarch. But are these kids going to have serious burn in Champions League matches?
Depends if
we talked about Gonzalo Garcia at the beginning of the year when it was at the Club World Cup, like he was a second coming of Raúl, and then he barely sees the field, right? That's kind of been what Real Madrid's MO has been, because they have the opportunity to go get the hottest young striker in Brazil, the hottest guy here and from Turkey, and put together a super team. Sure. I think it was circumstantial, and perhaps, obviously, Arbeloa having his pulse on the academy in Castilla. But I'm not going to judge Real Madrid off of a round of 16 match. Yeah. And they're not going to judge themselves. Now, Arbeloa for sure isn't. It's the next round. And the round after that. When they had to play a serious football team with a serious project last year, Arsenal, they got wiped off the floor.
Yeah.
Nico saying that Champions League is really just getting started now, maybe even in April.
1,000%.
Yeah.
League phase is unserious for the likes of Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Unserious.
Clip it. Clip it.
It's true. Real Madrid fans.
Nico's rubbished the entire league phase.
Oh, but so far, the proof is in the pudding, right? We saw that last year.
Well, talking about the young kids, Arbeloa, he did play 5 academy kids over the weekend. And as we mentioned, as someone who grew up in the youth system, at Real Madrid, he said, I can die for nights like these.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.